Good morning and welcome to the Threshing Floor, where we strive to grow together through God and Christ-centered conversation. Today, we're having conversations with our 5-year-old and our 7-year-old about Cold Case Christianity for Kids by J. Warner Wallace. We've been going through this book, and today we're going to be reviewing Chapter 3, Note Sheet. Chapter 3 is about Think Circumstantially, and we go over the two different kinds of evidences, and then we're going to do the activity. I will be reading from the free available online resource, the printed out worksheets that they have, and it's actually really fantastic. It's a great resource. I talk a lot about it in the first video, so if you haven't watched that, I really encourage you to go and watch that one where we cover Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 review. So anyways, let's get to it. Alright guys. Hi babies. Okay. So, think circumstantially. Who remembers what circumstantial evidence is? Raise your hand if you do. No? Oh, okay. So there's how many kinds of evidences, Finley?
2.
2, that's right. Do you remember what one of them is? You don't remember what either one of them are?
No.
Okay, it's been a few days. Juliet, do you remember what one of them is?
Indirect evidence.
Okay, see, she went and looked at the notes page. Okay.
Indirect.
Yes, okay. So there's two kinds. One is direct, which is, do you remember what direct means?
I don't, but I know
Okay.
what the other one is.
Okay, we're not on that one yet, just a minute. So there's two kinds of evidences. The first one being direct evidence. Direct evidence is a witness, somebody who has seen it, or video evidence is the same kind of thing because that's where you can watch what actually happened. Please wait just a minute. And then the second kind is indirect or circumstantial evidence. Same thing, okay? That is everything else. And they are given the same amount of weight, okay? One is no more important than the other one. In fact, a lot of cases that are solved by detectives are based, the majority of them are based on circumstantial or indirect evidence, okay? So one is not any more important than the other, okay? And so, Detective Jeffries says there are two ways to find out where the skateboard came from, because we remember our skateboard, the kids found it and they're trying to figure out who it belonged to, so they took it to the detective. Right. So, number 1, a witness evidence, which is called direct evidence. And number 2, everything else, which is called indirect or circumstantial evidence, okay? So, Daniel went to Great Skates, which is the skateboarding store in town. Please stop. Okay. What did he learn about the skateboard wheels, Finley?
It is 75
millimeters. And is millimeters.
Wide and built for speed, and it was sold 10 years ago.
Okay, so we know from that evidence, if it was sold no sooner than 10 years ago, how old are those wheels, Juliet? If the wheels were sold 10 years ago, how old are those wheels? You can't buy them any sooner than that.
I don't know.
Okay, Finley, do you know?
At least 10 years old.
At least 10 years old, okay? Because if you can't get them, if you could buy them 10 years ago, but then after 10 years, sooner than 10 years, you couldn't buy them, then they have to be at least 10 years old. Now, they might be older than that because the person who bought them might have bought them before they stopped selling them. But we know that they're at least 10 years old, probably more, possibly more, okay? So, we already covered the next question, which is what does this indirect evidence tell us about the age of the board? At least 10 years old, okay? So, Jeffries made a case for God's existence from several pieces of indirect evidence. We are in a universe that did what to begin, Finley?
you're in a universe that began to exist.
Exactly, began to exist. Okay, so it had a start. Okay? The universe is incredibly what for the existence of life, Juliet?
The universe fine-tuned.
Fine-tuned. What does fine-tuned mean? Do you remember?
I remember all the rest of the sentence.
Okay, so if we have, okay, let's look at our planets. Let's think about our planets. The planet Earth is exactly where it has to be to support life, right? So if it's any closer to the sun, it would be too hot. If it's any further away, then it would be too cold. Okay, that's called fine-tuning. That means things are exactly how they're supposed to be for everything to work, okay? And if you go and you change those things, then things don't work like they're supposed to work anymore. Yes, sir.
Like gears, if you put gears in the wrong place, they won't work.
Yeah.
But if you put them in the right place,
Exactly.
they'll spin.
Yes, exactly. That is fine-tuning. You're putting things where they're supposed to be. Well, what is the likelihood that things are just going to naturally happen the way that they're supposed to happen? It's not very likely. It's not very likely. You remember when we were talking about DNA and the double helix and how the amino acids have to connect? Exactly, it's on our paper, right? So they have to connect in a very specific order. If even one of those things tries to connect to something else where it's not supposed to be, things don't work. And then you have something like somebody who is born with a disability because the things in their DNA didn't quite line up right, okay? So it's by God's design we learn that things, things have to be put in the exact right order for things to work, okay? So that's fine-tuned. Please put your booklet down, son. Okay. We see signs of what in biology, Finley?
Information.
Information, that's right. And do we remember what the definition of information is?
The definition of information. No, ma'am, I do not know what you're talking about.
Okay, so, hold on. Information is a series of symbols, objects, or letters that describe a specific idea or request, okay? So, whenever we read a sentence, that's information. All those letters are just symbols for sound, okay? We remember what a symbol is, right? It's just a thing that represents something else. So the letter A is a symbol for the sound ah or ah, okay? So when we put those symbols together and they make words, those words are symbols, they represent an idea. This is called information, okay? So the information in our DNA, when all those amino acids line up and you get, it almost kind of creates a sentence that tells your body what to do, like what eye color you're gonna have, or what color your skin's going to be, or how big your ears are going to be, So lots of different information in our DNA, okay? So God is the better explanation for the source of truth about what, Juliet? God is
moral truth.
Moral truth. What is moral truth, Finley? Do we remember?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Moral truth is what is good and evil or right and wrong. Moral truth is, should you kill somebody? Well, why not?
No, because then you'd get killed.
No, not necessarily. But, what, Julia?
But you would have to repent and seek forgiveness to go back up to heaven.
Yes, that's true.
And if you don't, you'll just go back to hell.
You would go down to hell, yes. So, go ahead.
Where is your DNA? Like, where is it in your body?
It's in your blood. It's in all of the cells of your body. Every single cell has DNA in it.
Wow, that's a lot of DNA.
It is. Your whole body has all your DNA in it. There's DNA even in your hair because it's in all of your cells. And there's cells that make up your hair.
How? Whoa.
That's just the way it is. Okay, hold on just a minute.
You're made of cells and you're made of DNA?
The DNA is in the cells.
Wow.
That's cool, huh? All right. lower your voice, please. All right. So listen. We shouldn't kill people. Okay? The reason we shouldn't kill people, even people who don't believe in God, a lot of them recognize that it's wrong to kill people. Okay? So the fact that most people understand that killing somebody is wrong, okay? It is moral truth that to take life is wrong, okay? Because deep down we all understand that life is special, okay? Human life is a very special thing. And to take that away, to kill somebody, is wrong. That is moral truth, okay? God is the best explanation that we have for moral truth. Because if it's just subjective, if it's just what somebody makes up, well then it wouldn't be wrong for somebody to go out and kill somebody because, well, that's just what he thinks is best. No, we understand that there's something outside of what we think and what we feel that tells us that doing certain things is wrong, okay? So, Detective Jeffrey says 4 very different pieces of evidence all point to the same conclusion. God is the best explanation for all of this evidence. So we have the evidence that the universe began to exist. It didn't just spring up by itself. There's lots of scientists who support that the universe had a starting point, okay? It hasn't existed forever, and it didn't just, it began, okay? Well, think about if you line up a whole bunch of dominoes and they're close together, but they're not touching, and they just stay there and nothing acts on them. Is anything ever going to happen to them? No, but if something or someone comes over and taps one of the dominoes and they fall into each other, well, then you have the beginning of something, okay? So, yeah, exactly. So that's the point of the universe having a beginning, okay? That's one of our evidences. The universe is incredibly fine-tuned for the existence of life. Well, the odds of things just happening in just the right order to create complex life like human beings is very, very unreasonable, okay? So that points to God being the one who created and designed everything and everyone.
Is that the DNA picture?
That is the compass.
Oh, I thought so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So then we have signs of information in biology. That's the DNA, because remember what biology is? It's the study of life, okay? Human biology studies the way that the human life evolves and DNA, etc. Yes. Okay, and then we have the argument of moral truth. All of these things point to God, okay? Because if there's something outside of us that tells us things that are good and bad, well, somebody had to have created that. We have God as the standard, okay? God values life. God does not want to destroy life. God, so all of those things point to God. So, a tool for your detective bag. Finley, can you read it and include the word that's missing?
Remember that nearly everything can be used as evidence. There are many ways to build a case for God's existence and many kinds of evidence you can use to discover the truth about God. Look closely at the world around you to find more evidence about God's existence.
That's right. So, when we look around at the world around us, what can tell us that there's a God? If you look around,
everything that's made.
Well, first of all, everything exists, so it had to have a beginning. Things had to have come into existence. Okay? Alright, so now the activity.
Yay!
So, find the following sentences in chapter 3 and then fill them in below. Alright, well, let's see.
It's gonna be hard.
Indirect
Evidence.
Can be powerful, and we do have indirect for God. Let's see if I can find that in the book.
Unscramble the letters.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. All the circles.
Yeah.
fill them
They
in.
spell out something, right?
Yeah, do it in order. And they spell out a word. Mom, we have to fill in the words here and then make a new big word and then write it down again.
That's right.
That's fun.
That is fun, I agree. Yeah, so I found it. Indirect. What do you think it is?
Evidence.
Evidence, that's right. So, E, V, I, D, E, N, C, E. What letter is in the circle?
E.
So you want to go ahead and put it down here? E. It goes in the very first circle, okay? Good job.
Evidence too.
We'll see. So indirect evidence can be powerful, and we do have indirect
Evidence.
evidence.
Yeah.
Evidence
I'm gonna forget.
for God.
E. Another E. There are two indirect evidence and indirect evidence. They're both E's.
Oh, did you catch what the bottom says? It says, now transfer the circled letters to the following sequence. Finally, unscramble the evidence, or unscramble the letters to find the. So they're all mixed up. Okay. All right, let's go to our next one.
Wait.
Okay, you guys are being a bit too loud. Quiet down, please. Okay, finish writing it.
Alright, done.
Okay, good job. All right, next one. First, we're in a universe that began to exist, and then we have comma and then a word, and it says, like we talked about, and then another word. Okay, so first we have an, let's see. First, we're in a universe that began to exist, just like we talked about before. Okay, J-U-S-T, just.
J.
We have a J in our little circle here.
So J, U,
J-U-S-T, just.
E, ready.
Okay, just like we talked about before. B,
E. Is it an F?
B-E-F-O-R-E.
E-F.
F is the one, that's right. Okay, our next quote. The blank is incredibly blank for the existence of life. Finley, what do you think what that is?
The existence.
The whole big what is incredibly...
World. Universe.
Universe, the whole universe. Why? U
Wait, I know.
N U-I, U-N I V
R.
E-R-S-E.
R is the one.
You need help? It's right here. Okay. So the universe is incredibly blank for the existence of life. Juliet, what do you think that word is? Well, it's actually two words with a dash between. You remember from our list of things that are circumstantial evidence that points to God, the one of them. So we talked about how it began to exist, and then the universe is two words with a dash between it. Do you remember? If anything is off, it doesn't work right. What's the word for that?
Indirect evidence?
Okay, no. Put your pencil down away from your face, sweetheart. Hold on just a minute. So if our Earth was any closer to the sun, it would be too hot, but if it was any further away, it'd be too cold. What makes it in just the right spot to work just the right way?
Fine-tuned.
Fine-tuned. You weren't supposed to answer, mister. Please don't do that again. So, the universe is incredibly fine-tuned for the existence of life, okay? Going on to the next one. Blank also sees signs of design in biology. Okay, who studies biology?
Ooh.
Finley?
Information?
No. Who studies biology? Who are the people doing biology stuff in a lab? Do you know? People who work in a lab? Scientists. Good job. So capital S, it's at the beginning of a sentence, so we're going to put our capital S. Scientists also see signs of design in biology. That's where they see, like in our DNA, how things have to line up just right. They have to be fine-tuned in order for things to work properly, okay? So next, the truth about blank seems to come from something other than my blank opinion, okay? So, let's see. The truth about, okay, this is a very specific reference in the story. Okay, hold on just a minute. Okay, Detective Jeffries is talking about stealing, okay? And he's talking about how it's not okay to steal, right? We know this. It's not okay to go take somebody's things, okay? Well, what if there was no law against it? Would it be then okay not to go, or to go and steal things? Please don't do that.
Yeah.
It would be just because people said it was okay, it would be okay to go steal things?
Nope.
No, it wouldn't. Why not?
What?
I just threw my pen. So we know that stealing is not okay, even if other people say it's okay to do it, right?
Law says to, and then we don't, and then we get put in jail.
That's a possibility, that the man's law could say, hey, you have to do this thing, even though you know it's wrong, okay? Well, what we do is we take the punishment because we need to do what's right instead of doing what's wrong, even if people tell us to do it, okay? So, the truth about stealing seems to come from something other than my personal opinion, what I think about it, okay? Okay. The next one. 4 very something pieces of evidence all point to the what conclusion? 4 very different pieces. 4 very different pieces of evidence all point to the, what is it? Same conclusion.
I'm gonna go with
Okay.
what this is. Detective Jeffries. No. Okay.
Actually, you're right. Detective has been shortened. Last letter. T. So that is short for Detective Jeffries.
I did it! I guessed it!
All right, good job. Now, real quick, let's review this. Put your pencil down, please. So, Finley, indirect
Evidence.
can be powerful, and we do have indirect
Evidence.
for God. Juliet, first, we're in a universe that began to exist just like we talked about. Sit down, please.
I can't read it.
You can't read your own handwriting?
I can't.
Before. Okay, Finley, the universe is incredibly
Fine-tuned.
for the existence of life. Juliet, who also sees signs of design in biology? Scientists, that's right. Finley, the truth about
Stealing.
seems to come from something other than my
Personal opinion.
very good. And 4 very, what, Juliet? Different
pieces of evidence all point to the same
conclusion. So let's go back through this real quick. What are our 4 pieces of indirect or circumstantial evidence? Finley, can you give me one of them?
Our DNA.
Our DNA. Scientists see information in biology, okay? So that's one of them. Sit up, please. Juliet, can you give me another one? So information in biology is one. What's another? So Finley gave us the one where scientists see signs of design in biology, okay? That's one piece of our evidence. What's another evidence? That the universe began to exist. Yes, sir.
Fine-tune.
Fine-tune. What does that mean?
The world, that means that it's just right.
Okay. That things are put in just the right place so that things can work. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and let's see. We've got 4. We've got design and biology, intelligent design and biology. We've got a finely tuned universe. We've got a beginning to the universe, and we have moral truth, which is like the truth about stealing seems to come from something other than my personal opinion. Well, what if I think that it's okay to steal? Does that make it right?
It's not.
Good job, guys. All right, so I think that's it. We've gone through our list of evidences. What kind of evidence do we have for God, Finley? Is it direct or indirect?
Indirect.
Indirect, okay. Because we haven't seen God, have we?
No.
Now, Jesus has seen God, and we have evidence to support that Jesus is who he says he is.
Because he is God.
Because he is God, but it's a little tricky. So
yeah.
We don't exactly have direct evidence, not really in a true sense. So we focus on the indirect evidence. I would argue that Jesus' witnessing of God is direct evidence, but I'm not entirely sure how that all works out. So, anyways, all right, guys, thank you so much for joining us for our conversation today. Thank you for just walking alongside us as we try to teach these kids that there is evidence both in the Bible and outside of the Bible for God's existence, and how to think critically and how to come to a reasonable assessment of all of that evidence that God has given us, because he has given us a plethora of evidence. And I hope that this encourages you to have these kinds of conversations with your young kids, because they really and truly are capable of understanding these things. And it requires a bit more extra work on your part to find out how exactly to word it, depending on what stage they're at and what they can comprehend. But it's so worth it. It's so worth the extra time and effort to figure out how to communicate these ideas to small children, because the younger you start, the more time that they have to really think critically through these things and develop a relationship with the Lord. And if they choose to walk away from it, then you have done the best that you can to present a good argument for why God is true and why we should acknowledge him. So thanks for joining us on the Threshing Floor, and we look forward to seeing you next time.